Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Trans Files, episode 10. And tonight we're going to be talking about transitioning. Yay!
Yay. Okay, well, yay. I mixed feelings about this because like some of the stuff that we're gonna talk about is sort of very unfortunate, stuff like what's happening in Florida right now. I think we saw it coming, but anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I should just jump in, but yeah. Anyway, okay. So it's on my mind, so I'll just jump in. But so for those of you who haven't followed this news, particular news, like 5 days ago, right? State of Florida banned gender affirming care under Medicaid. So essentially, poor people can't get gender affirming care under their state program. Um, Again, I mean, we saw it coming because it was being talked about, and I just don't think that actually, to be very honest with you, maybe I'm like, call me an alarmist, but um, I don't think in states like California, we are not necessarily perfectly safe either. I don't think at this point, but yeah. But apparently, though, I was reading a news like right before I logged in. Some human rights groups in Florida are actually suing the state of Florida over this. So let's just see what happens. Yeah.
Good for them for taking a stand, though.
I know, yeah. I'm actually glad that some people, some organizations are taking up on this issue because it really needs to be contested.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it doesn't, like it's just it says precedents for other states. Not like it's not happening already, but so.
No. I mean, and that's the thing. Like you said, we saw this coming. Like, this has been kind of like been a domino effect. I mean, the moment you fucking like essentially like don't do anything, you're basically giving these fascists a whole bunch of control to do whatever the hell they want to do because they know that you're not going to fucking do anything. That's the thing. I'm not surprised that this stuff's going around in Florida or Texas. And like you said, California, like, yes, I guess people will say it's a safe blue state, but I mean, people out here have trouble as it is, accessing it as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even, it's just, I mean, there's a couple of factors that come into play, right? Like, there's people that can't get access to healthcare, but there's also that part where people are afraid to go in there to get that help because they experience judgment and discrimination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so again, like moving right in, so like there are kind of commercial, for-profit, private, internet-based services that allow you to get hormones, right? I mean, like $100 a month or something like that. So I have a mixed feelings about these businesses because I mean, I know, okay, on one hand, it's great that you have access. You can get it if you want it, right? Because as you said, Noah, there are reasons why people can't get gender affirming care. Maybe like you don't have a health care or you don't want to go in to see a doctor. But so for these people, yeah, I guess it's great that there are internet based businesses exist. But at the same time, I feel like after all, though, these are no, I mean, these are, let's face it, for profit businesses. And I feel like you should actually, I mean, okay, you should not only have access, but you should be able to get it, right? Really, I mean, for free. It should be guaranteed healthcare and something about okay, yeah, I mean, call me naive, but something about this being like for profit money making business do not sit well with me. Although these services really do a good job, I think, for what it is. But anyway.
again, it's like being trans in some sense is a privilege, though, because like what you're describing, like, okay, so like I have had like employer based healthcare. So like the key ones that they offer out here is like Sutter, Kaiser, Blue Shield, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And everything. I've experienced good quality care at Sutter, not so much Kaiser. But of course, not everybody's going to agree with me on that one. But Kaiser, overall, in my opinion, is just general garbage. um, actually, and speaking of that, actually, I want to kind of there's a topic I kind of want to talk about because it does have to do with transition. So you know, with most insurance, right, support of gender dysphoria, right? That
Mm-hmm.
often requires going to a mental health therapist. I saw a post that you posted. It was, wasn't it a few days ago, where Kaiser mental health professionals were walking out
Yeah.
or quitting. I'm gonna tell you, like, I personally have never worked at Kaiser, but overall, I've had a shitty experience when it comes to their mental health. They only like see people like once or twice a month. They
Yeah.
don't do effective, and you wonder why. But people need to have that though, because that's what insurance companies require. Some don't. Like I was fortunate enough to not have to get letters for getting on testosterone or more or less getting my surgeries minus bottom surgery. That is something you definitely, because you need like 2 letters of support
Yeah.
to get.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't have the ability to get that, it makes it a lot harder. I mean, it's just insane. It's fucking insane. Healthcare should not be a fucking privilege, people. Like, it should not.
Mm-hmm.
Healthcare is fundamental in general. It doesn't matter if you're in the LGBTQ or anybody. Healthcare is not a privilege. It's something that we as human beings are entitled to. You got people out there saying, hey, like, we want to support the trans community. Well, first, how about why don't you actually go and start with healthcare? That's why I get pissed when I see people talking about, like, oh, we stand for the trans community. Okay, well, if you're really standing for the trans community, give us fucking health care. Give us health care. I mean, it's almost impossible right now for people to do it anyway. Like, I mean, I just experienced something actually quite scary. I mean, I was very, very close to getting evicted from the house. I lost my job because of COVID, because I had caught COVID. Now I will not have access to this healthcare anymore that I was supposed to get.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to actually utilize like online sources. Like, so I use folks, and fortunate for me, since I've been doing testosterone for a while, I have not had to pay $100. But even for new people, they were asking people to pay $100 just to get on fucking testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
You got me fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah.
And a thing too, another part that we wanted to talk to you guys about when it comes to transitioning, there's gatekeeping when it comes to transitioning. And we need to address that. We have repeatedly said over and over that there has been division with the trans and non-binary community because of this issue of transitioning. There's trans people that will hate on non-binary people just simply because they don't want to transition all the way.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to transition at all. Even if it's
Yeah.
social transition, that's fine. But you are not obligated to do any type of medical transition if you do not personally see it to be fit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Years ago, I had this. So okay. So I'm from Japan, so I do tweets in Japanese as well. But okay, the reason why I say that is like, okay, I'm just prefacing it. So, the reason why I started Twitter years and years and years ago, I was actually exclusively doing Twitter in Japanese in the beginning because I wanted to sort of do an outreach to LGBTQIA plus community in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so as a result, I made a lot of friends, in that community, and one of the people I befriended with was this trans woman in Japan, and she's sort of famous in some circles because she's very outspoken, and although she uses like a kind of pseudonym in on Twitter, so her identity is really not known. But I
Hmm.
mean, she's someone who advocated, who did advocacy in her area, and whatever she did, was has been on the newspaper article and stuff like that. So anyway, so I kind of befriended this person. So I was kind of talking with her via Twitter for some time, like for a couple of years. But there came a point, I kind of started to see her politics, right? And this was like before um I came out as trans. I was, well, I came out as a non-binary first, so I was non-binary, but and I'm still non-binary, but I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
But so she, at some point, I started to see her politics, meaning that she's one of these people who think that unless you physically transition all the way, you are not serious, and she does not want to be seen as the same as these people, right, in her eyes.
Hmm.
And that was something that I just could not handle. I mean, I just could not, like, let go. So I kind of, yeah, I don't talk to her anymore. But yeah, it's unfortunate though. And she's not the only one I know. There are people out there who kind of, see this as sort of weird hierarchy of transness, and people who transition all the way is like on top of the hierarchy, and then if you are not transitioning, it's like you're, bottom feeder almost, like,
Hmm.
yeah, and you're not qualified to be trans, and that's crazy to me.
Or more or less, because I mentioned this on the last episode of the Trans Files when we were talking about the non-binary community. Like, I had an interaction with the trans woman, and she said pretty much the same thing, that they're out to make us look bad because she was so convinced that we're on a binary scale, male, female. And as we discussed on the Trans Files last week, it's within that binary scale. You just have to look. Plain and simple. It's
Hmm.
not bad. Like, everybody is unique. That's why, like, trying to educate people on trans and non-binary issues can be very challenging because it's a broad category.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because all of us are very unique. All of our stories are unique. But the key thing is, most of us experience oppression. There's some that don't, and the ones that don't are the ones that have health care, they have money, and they have no complaints in their lives.
Right.
Those are the ones you should not listen to, in my opinion.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
same people that are also telling you to shut the fuck up and not make a mistake. Plain and
There's
simple.
definitely that class issue. That is for sure. Yeah, because this particular trans woman, Japanese one that I was just talking about, um, she was a business owner, and she
Mm-hmm.
was very successful in terms of, like, you know um money. So she was very rich, and stuff like that. So I mean, she has to realize though, she's totally coming from, a place of privilege, because not everyone can physically transition. I mean, surgeries though, I mean, they're expensive. Actually, a lot of well, I shouldn't say a lot of, some Japanese people go to Thailand to get surgeries because I guess it's cheaper there, and they're known for that. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, cheaper than Japan. What I mean by that is, yeah. So yeah, they a lot of people go to Thailand to get it done. But even that, it's a chunk of change, because I remember, what was that? Okay, so in my other show, in the first episode, I had this God, her nationality escapes me. Filipina. That's right, Filipina. This Filipino transgender woman, who lives in Japan. And again, like she's sort of like a famous person because she was actually detained in Japan's detention center, immigration detention center, and she was like really bullied and tortured, and that made a news. So she's kind of this like sort of celebrity, but at the time she was fundraising for her surgery because being illegal in Japan, you can't really travel outside of the country, of course. So she has to get things done in Japan, and I don't exactly remember how much, but I think it was like $50,000. She was trying to. It includes like her living expense too, though, in recovery, because like when she's recovering, she can't really work or anything like that. So yeah, anyhow, but yeah, it was like $50,000. So it's expensive.
Shoot, I may have to go revisit going getting my surgery out of country. Because if it's cheaper, like I'll take advantage of that. To be honest.
Yeah.
That's just unfortunate, though. See, like that, like, why are we having to pay that even that much money to fucking like live as our authentic selves? If you're
Mm-hmm.
promoting the idea that we all need to live ourselves authentically, then what the fuck? Like, I understand, like, as a country, we need to have money. Like, I get it. But, like, when it gets to the extreme where nobody can fucking afford it, I mean, that pisses me off. Because
Mm-hmm.
I hear every day, like, the people that I talk to in my circle, it's depressing for them. I have actually one of my friends, kind of going back to Kaiser a little bit. He's been on the list to get bottom surgery now at
Mm-hmm.
least for like a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
He got a call. I want to say this conversation took place. I want to say about 6 months ago, and he pretty much said like, "Hey, like I got approved for this and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Yay, congratulations!" And then the next day they called him like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we had you like confused with somebody else," and they put him back on.
Oh.
Kaiser is known for that. Like they will literally put people back on the list. Like I understand COVID happened, but like I mean, this is like what we experience as trans people not being able, the ones that really want that surgery though. It's hell. It's fucking hell for us.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
can speak to that right now because I am one of those people who wants that surgery.
Mm-hmm.
It's been hell. Like my mental health goes fucking crazy, and it, especially when it discussions like gender norms come into it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's being reinforced in society.
Yeah.
Like, if it really wasn't being reinforced that heavily, I probably honestly probably wouldn't even get surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I know that like there's nothing to follow. It's not for me per se that like I'm trying to like kiss anybody's ass per se for the reason I want it. I mean, we all have our different reasons why we want to have surgery.
Mm-hmm.
But like for me, it's just personally would be relieving for me. I'm not doing it for gender norms. I am doing it because it will make me feel
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
Fuck gender norms. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, no, I respect that. Yeah. It's interesting though, because I've been thinking about a lot ever since I started my transition, meaning that I started taking tea, last year, July 28th of last year. So it's been a year. And so, you know, um, there's certainly this pressure to um, look in a certain way and behave in a certain way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to be trans to experience this, because we experience it in, cis people experience it in their cis lives, right? Because there is certain expectation to for women, for instance, to look and behave in a certain way, and for men to look and behave in a certain way. And I think same dichotomy, like same dynamics, like happen in trans community as well. And um, because we want to pass and fit in so desperately, sometimes it's like a pressure is so great to, if you're, for instance, if you're transitioning, like if you are FTM, you feel like you need to be, you know, dressed in certain way, or do things, do certain things, right? So I've been contemplating that a lot because, to be honest with you, in the beginning, I felt that way. Now I felt like now I have to be, behaving. I have to be behaving in a certain way, or I have to look certain way. But as the time went by, I felt like I started to embrace more of my own individuality, and I came to terms with, like, I mean, frankly, how I've always been, which is pretty neutral. What I mean? When it comes to, like, because I don't really, I mean, I've never really dressed in like certain way. I'm quite comfortable in what I like, meaning that there are certain like dresses that I like, so I'm comfortable like that. Um and again, like, we talked about this. I was never like a tomboy. I mean, I actually am not good at like masculine things for the most part, right? I'm not good at sports necessarily and stuff like that, and it's okay, right? So yeah, so I feel like now I'm just coming to a point that I appreciate more of my individuality, and I'm more comfortable, expressing that. So that's a blessing. But there is, going back to the original point, there is a certain pressure that, happens, like, you have to really try really hard, you know.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you know what? It's insane. Like, okay, first of all, like I said, you are yourselves. You are perfect the way you are. If you don't like something, then do something about it. If getting surgeries is something that is going to help make you feel better, do it. If you don't want to, I'm still going to consider you a man or woman, whatever. And honestly, I hate that there's an expectation of this passing thing.
Hmm.
Like, it bothers me. Like, why do we have to look a certain way? I remember an episode that we were talking about with gender norms. I think it was like our second episode, actually. We were discussing gender norms. There
Hmm.
is already an expectation. I mean, just try to like picture it in our shoes, like what we're experiencing. There's already a set expectation on this binary scale. And then you got being trans on top of that, and we still kind of have to meet that expectation. My question is why?
Hmm.
Why do we have to? You should be your own self. You should be your own individual. Like I discussed this like with women. Like women are seen as very weak, and having blonde, being a brunette, being skinny, that in itself is damaging. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of the expectation with women is like the only way that you're going to be accepted as a woman is if you're skinny, you're attractive. And most people engage in things that are going to be damaging to not only their mental health but their physical health.
Hmm.
Why is there this expectation that's there in the first place? There shouldn't. Same with men. Like we're seen as the strong, like we're taking care of things, we're stubborn, and which actually, to some degree, I think that's kind of true.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
passes as a very hot and an acceptable man. I technically wouldn't be accepted as a man because I'm chunky. Okay.
Hmm.
People don't although I'm gonna say I think that's gotten better over the time since I've been around. I think it used to be really hyped back in the 90s. Like you had to be skinny, you had to be athletic, you had to have nowadays, I think being a little chunky has been okay. So I will give it that. But in general principle, I'm not going to be accepted because I may be attractive like in the face, but my body it's not going to matter.
um
It's like,
okay,
well,
so
typical beer.
there's
And
yeah,
who
sorry, I
else?
missed what you said.
No, I said it's like typically it's like the beer dad thing. I got the beer belly syndrome. And by the way, I do want to say before we actually continue, I apologize for not having the beret. I know I already apologized for this, Tsukuru, but my kid decided to have a fun fest and knocked a whole bunch of stuff on it, so I had to wash it. So I am temporarily bringing the beanie back.
Yay, it's okay.
And I also to put this out there too. We are going to be updating the logo on this, so that should be available in the next couple of weeks. So I wanted to go ahead and put that out there before I forgot about it because this type of topic I can go in and in with it, and I want to make sure that whatever's loose, I want to make sure I get it out before we go too much into depth with it.
Mm-hmm.
I get.
Good thinking. Good thinking. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But on like the gatekeeping around transitioning, like I mean, honestly, like I don't even know why people are having this fucking conversation in the first place. I'm baffled by it. It's just like, okay, you're trans. Okay, fine. Then you need to accept that if another person says they're trans and they can't do it, then don't fucking disrespect them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't down. Because essentially, you're basically going to be pushing that person right back into the closet.
Right. Yeah.
That's just as bad. I mean, living as a female for 33 years for me was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came out as trans, like, I mean, I already had that decision with what I wanted to do. I mean, I knew I was a man. I knew I wanted to do the surgeries. Like, I knew it. There's some people that don't. And when people do not know when they ask questions, I've seen people get shamed for it. It's like, why are you shaming them for somebody that's asking questions? It is okay to ask questions.
Yep.
Because there's going to be that one person, I guarantee you, in our community, there's always going to be that one person that's going to understand completely because they've been in your shoes. The ones shaming you, like the ones that engage in shaming others, honestly, you need to stay away from them. Because that's good faith. Being trans is difficult. Nobody chose for us to be trans. Like, nobody chose this. Like, this isn't something that we just woke up one day and we're just like, oh, well, I'm a man, so I'm going to go do this. And then, of course, you have all these other fuckers that are out there that are talking about, oh, well, you're going to go ahead and detransition anyway. So you got that shit, too. Fucking insane. Anyways, I wanted to go ahead and let you talk.
No. I was thinking about something while you were talking. I mean, in relation to what you were saying, but yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. I wonder though, like why people have issues, with what others do. Do you think it's like they are threatened by it? I mean, do you think they feel that like people do not transition invalidates somehow what they are? I mean, I just I'm just trying to figure out like why it bothers them so much.
You know what? I think I'm in that same kind of predicament that you are, because it's like, why does this matter to you? Like, did anybody shame you? Well, if they did, then I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be taking it out on anybody else. Period. I mean, I have had people come up to me telling me like they've been in Facebook groups. Like, this is where I've seen it the most. They've been in Facebook groups. And, in the guidelines of these groups, there's like no shaming, everybody's valid. But yet these same people are also invalidating the same people that are asking questions. Being trans, just a reminder, as we've said many times, both of the times in our generations, me and Tsukuru's generations, being trans wasn't even a thing that was talked about.
Right.
It was all about orientation. Like, in a sense, this is kind of new for us too. Which actually makes the journey even more better.
Yep.
my opinion at least.
Mm-hmm.
Youth these days, in a sense, they have it good. Although right now, that's getting threatened to get taken away.
Right.
If I recall right off the top of my head, 93% of trans youth are worried about getting gender affirming medical care. 93%.
Mm.
That is not a small number. That's a pretty fucking high ass number.
Yeah. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. I mean, yeah, okay, politics aside, yeah, political situation of this country is one thing, but um, I mean, I pray to God that, like, more parents. Oh, I mean, okay, so nowadays, I know a lot of parents who are very understanding, very supportive, so good, good for them, and bless them, but I mean, God, I just can't imagine like how difficult, it must be, being a young person and just like coming out to your parents and just hoping that they will understand and they'll be supportive. And not every kid is fortunate. There are people. I know there are people out there. I mean, just like there are supportive parents, but there are who are not, right? So um you know
Yeah, there's kids that are getting kicked out of their homes, whether you're trans or even part of the other parts of the LGBTQ.
mm,
They're getting kicked out for that. But I mean, I can actually speak. I can't speak for every youth, but with my daughter, it was difficult for her. But I think when I came out as trans, it was a lot easier for her
mm,
because she knew that it was already safe.
mm-hmm.
But I also, putting that aside, as a mental health professional, I always have the concept and ideology of telling her, it's like, hey, do you know if you don't feel okay to talk about something, that's fine. But just know that my door is open.
Mm-hmm.
Simply just saying something like that, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's how you provide safety for the youth. Just simply just saying, look, if you want to talk about something, my door's open. Or if you're saying, look, I may not understand with what you're dealing with, but help me understand.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm truly never going to understand. People that are, content with being cis, that's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
But like, really listen to us. Trans youth right now, the stuff that's going on in this country, like, it's really more affecting trans youth than anything.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're going after adults too, but I mean, really, for me, I mean, going after the youth, that's fucked up for me because it's like, again, we don't hear about any type of like rates of like, I mean, I know the Trevor Project's been kind of staying up on this, like with thoughts of wanting to do it or like actually ones that have attempted, but we don't hear about the ones that actually have lost their lives.
Right.
And
Yeah.
mental, we don't hear about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested to see if there are any stats about that. Probably isn't. If it's not been talked about now, stuff's probably never been. And that's a sad truth. And you know what? This is also an example. This is something I'm going to call out with my field since we have this opportunity to talk about. My field, the mental health field, as much as I love it, it is the most performative fucking field ever. Worst kind of performative allyship that there is.
Mm.
They go and sit there and talk about how we want to make things better for trans people. Okay, fine, cool. You're providing this stuff for other counselors, but are you actually providing all the stats? Are you doing constant research on these things? No. It's not being talked about. Even with my current research project, like I can't even find things from trans therapists. It's all everybody else in the LGB. That's it. We're not talked about. It's about time that we need to start talking about it. Mental health for me, as most of you know, it is valuable for me. I care about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
When that's getting threatened, then that's where I'm going to get really pissed off. The fact that it's hard to get healthcare as it is in this country, like that already pisses me off, and that's what's already been a starting motivator for me to start out.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact I have a trans child or trans non-binary child, and the thought of her not being able pisses me off.
Noah, we lost you. I think you were saying something very important, but we lost you. So can you repeat that? What you said?
Is my phone being crazy again?
Yeah, we just lost you for a second.
Okay, what was the last thing you heard me say?
Okay, so you said I have trans non-binary daughter, and okay, there was a blank, and you said it pisses me off. So important part was missing.
Gotta love technology, right? We fuck technology. Oh, okay. Yeah, as most of you know, I'm having computer issues. I'm gonna probably have to buy a new laptop. It's looking like, but yeah, the fact what I was saying with my child, she's trans and non-binary, and the fact that like the thought of the fact that she can't get access to the shit that she can pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
She's already worried about that shit. Like she had mentioned to me, kind of going back on the subject of passing. I just gotta say, I love children, but man, they also piss me off too because they can be hella fucking mean. But it's not necessarily the child's fault though, so that's why I don't get too pissed off at the children. I get pissed off at the parents because that are teaching this shit to children.
Yep.
My daughter was telling me, actually, we were in a session today, and she was telling me that I'm very scared about going to school. And I asked her why, and it's mainly the locker room issue. She's afraid she's going to get bullied again.
Oh.
And it's like, okay, first of all, like, I'm already going to handle this tomorrow. Trust me, I'm going to make sure I advocate my hardest tomorrow at the school. But the fact that she has that thought in her head, like she doesn't want to go to school just for the fact that she's afraid of being judged for who she is. Because there has to be a set standard. Gender norms again.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
I know. Yeah, that sucks.
It makes me fucking cry. This is a hill, honestly, that I'm willing to die on. If it means that the youth are going to have a better shot than we do. For future generations to come. I mean, if this stuff had been around when you and me were, like, say, if transgender was talked about when we were, this shit was available, I can only imagine how better that. Now it's just worse. It's fucking worse.
Yeah. I just, I was saying this like a few weeks ago too, but I do worry about a lot. I do worry a lot about non-binary people because, so on one hand, so there's this language, such as non-binary, and there's understanding that that exists, and that's a valid thing. So that's like what's happening on one hand, but on the other hand, though, I don't know how to put this, like so that yeah, I don't know how to put this like in a clear and eloquent manner, but so while that while there's that understanding, and actually that understanding and that language freed me up, so I got a lot of benefit from this language called non-binary, right? So that's a blessing, but at the same time, I think there's this like really huge hurdle of acceptance in the society, because I think non-binary people are seen as a joke
Yeah.
and attention seeker, actually,
Mm-hmm.
when we are not. You know, some people do think that we just want to be different. You know, we are just seeking attention. But I mean, do you know how crazy that is, though? I mean, when you actually, it's like this, like you don't really get anything positive, for doing that. I mean, okay, so like let's say if somebody wants to be different, okay, and they are saying that they are non-binary, okay, well that can happen, I guess. But okay, here's the thing. There is a satisfaction, I guess, like you know, in their own mind that like they are non-binary, but everything else you get from a society, from outside of yourself, is most for the most part it's negative. you know so why do you want to subject yourself to that? Are we crazy? I mean, it's like, so when I don't get it, like when people say, oh, non-binary people are just attention seeking, or you know.
I mean, okay, look, I mean, I will be real. Like when I first heard about non-binary, I pretty much kind of was like one of those things. It's like, well, what the fuck? It's like, what the hell is this? Because like I was always taught that gender was male and female.
Mm,
But like I really got to humble myself a lot. Like I mean, I got a lot of people that I am friends with that are non-binary that have basically have humbled me and gave me an understanding of what it is. And honestly, a PSA to all my trans siblings that go and engage in this type of garbage that Tsukuru's describing, saying that, that non binary people are a joke. I'm going to encourage you to actually talk to some people who are non binary and read up on it. Because this is dangerous. You wouldn't like it if somebody said the same thing to you. But it's already being said about the trans community as itself. They're saying that we're a joke.
mm,
Don't do it to somebody else. Plain and simple.
mm,
And in a sense, that's what's not going to be that it's not going to work in your favor though either.
mhm, mhm,
If you have questions about it, ask them. It's kind of like, okay, what I mean by that when it comes to like being kind of programmed with the gender norm, let's use another analogy. Like for me, if we go into politics, I used to be a shitlib because that's all I knew about was the two-party system, Republicans and Democrats. But I humbled myself. I paid attention. I started listening. Now I don't identify with either of them.
mhm,
Gain a perspective. Because the non binary community, I mean, I was reading too, going back to some stats, 58% of non binary youth have considered suicide. That's bigger.
mhm,
This is why y'all need to humble yourselves. Stop gatekeeping. If you're perfectly happy being in that binary scale and engaging in those talking points, fine. But you should not treat others the way that you have been treated by society. That is not okay. And that is the one thing that honestly bothers me when I see other trans people doing this to non binary people or gay people doing it to the trans community or
mhm.
anybody for that matter in the LGBTQIA plus or even people outside of the LGBTQIA plus. I mean, when trans folks talk about this shit, like people that shout, what's his name? Actually, the person that shall not be named.
Right, right, right,
I
right.
don't pay attention to that shit because honestly, I know it's fucking vile garbage.
Mhm.
But when I hear it within my own community, it disheartens me.
Yeah,
It's different.
I
It's
hear you. Yeah, because it's like, we have this understanding, we should understand each other, we should be open-minded because we've suffered similar or the same kind of pain, you know.
mhm.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how I don't know. It's not. I guess it's not even forgetting, but it's like when it's happening to someone else, like you just kind of you're very it's very easy, for people to judge. And you know
Hmm. And I
yeah.
mean, enough with it. I mean, unless you're proud to be a vile garbage person that likes to judge people, then you really shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
As I've stated this before, this country lacks empathy and compassion, and people have forgotten to use their voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, demonstrate that shit. Like, demonstrate being compassionate and empathetic. You actually would be surprised that even for me as a trans person, people that I have interacted that are non-binary, we've gone through kind of like the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You will find that you'll have similarities. You will have differences, of course, and that's perfectly okay to have them
Mm-hmm.
and agree to disagree. But we should have a universal understanding is that yes, there's a norm in place. We are not part of that norm. We are unique, and we are going to be who we're. Yeah, I cannot talk. Who we are going to be. It has been a long day for me. I promise you.
It's late. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Can I say something? Okay, so it's been on my mind, and you talked about Faith, your daughter, being concerned about locker rooms, and it kind of has it has something to do with that actually. Okay, my dilemma about bathrooms. Okay, so as you can see, you guys, like, you see me, and as you can see right now, um I look pretty ambivalent, I guess. I look pretty feminine, I guess, for a lack of a better word. Although I don't really, to me, I don't look feminine, but hey, I mean, anyway. But point is, okay. So I have a confession. Bathrooms. So when I go out, um, I don't try not to. I mean, I try not to go to bathrooms like as much as possible if I can help it, because and especially if I am with friends, because I'm somewhat embarrassed, because all my friends know me as trans, and but then, like, okay, so here's the thing, like, if I'm hanging out with my men friends, right, male friends, when it comes the time to go to bathroom, I don't necessarily want to go to a men's bathroom looking like this because it can be dangerous, right?
mm,
I actually have a friend who is trans. Uh, he does not do hormone. He's not transitioning. But this person's brave though, because he goes to the men's bathroom. But he told me he's been chased after so many times. You know. So anyway, the point is, I don't actually. I'm not comfortable going into men's bathroom looking like this. So I guess that leaves me a choice, well, not even a choice, but to go to women's bathroom. But when I'm hanging out with my male friends who know me as trans, it's uncomfortable for me, like, and I don't even know how to explain that, so it's like, therefore, I just try not to drink anything, so I don't have to go to bathrooms,
well,
anyway.
there's another factor for me when it comes to the bathroom. Okay, there's a couple points I want to bring up. First of all, if a reminder, in Ohio, there was a trans man that got beaten the fuck out, and the cops arrested the trans man, all because he wanted to use the fucking bathroom. Okay, like he essentially went into the men's bathroom. He got chased out of the men's bathroom, so he tried to go to the women's bathroom, and he hadn't had his surgeries apparently, and he got beaten the fuck out of. There's gender neutral bathrooms, like all gender bathrooms, but I've even gotten shit for that. Like I remember one time I was at a job, and I obviously didn't stay there very long because it was bad, but I must have pissed somebody off, like the supervisor off, because I called her out for her Karen entitlement syndrome. But like she had pointed to the all gender bathrooms and looked straight into my face, pointed her finger into my face, and said, "This is for you people.
Oh God.
For you people." That makes me ashamed. And second of all, why would I want to go to a public bathroom anyway? Like, most of that shit's fucking disgusting. And I'm
Yeah.
that.
Mm.
That's why
Well, you know, when you have to go, I mean, you gotta go though.
I gotta go. But I mean, like, I try my best to like hold it at least until I get home, or if I at least am in a safe space to do it. But like going to like a gas station bathroom,
Oh God, yeah, I know.
grocery store bathrooms, I can't, because like even with grocery store bathrooms, like I've noticed this, they have one stall, but like most of it is urinals.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it a challenge for me personally as a trans man.
Mm-hmm.
When I go in there, like I'm fortunate enough, I've not been chased out of the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
By society, I technically passed. What? So people don't think of it. But when I have gone to the bathroom, literally, like it's it's insane, because like the one stall that's there, and I get automatically judged. Like, okay, maybe I had to take a shit. Who knows? Like, why are you gonna sit there and judge me?
Right. You know.
The fuck is this about? But like that's what's been making, like, at least the trans men that have not had their bottom surgery, that is a big trigger for us, and that's primarily the main reason why we want to have it.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, at least from my analysis, I can't for every trans man, but like a good consensus from what I've talked to, of the ones that I have talked to, it's because the men's bathrooms only have like that one stall in the restroom urinal. So it's almost impossible for us to even use the bathroom. Like, this is fucking insane. And all I'm going to say about this as a PSA, this whole debate over the bathroom issue, honestly, I'm sorry, it is the most ridiculous fucking debate that's ever came up. Okay? All we do in the bathroom is literally go take a pee and take a crap. That's all we do.
Yep.
Wash hands, that's all we do. I don't even know why this is even up for debate. Like, honestly, like, I think the whole conversations with the bathroom stuff, it baffles me. It's just like, why are we even fucking talking about this? Just why? But I mean, it does go into transitioning, though. I can't speak for trans women who have tried to use the women's bathroom, but I can tell you, I have personally experienced this even with my own daughter. She tried to use the woman's bathroom one time, and literally a turf got into my face and got into
God.
Because she was so afraid that my daughter was gonna rape someone.
What the fuck is wrong with them?
Years old. The fuck is she gonna do?
Oh, that is so insane. What the fuck?
Yes. This shit's real. Like, I'm not joking. And this was at a grocery store. Like, I was trying to encourage my kid. I was like, "Hey, let's just hold it in, because these bathrooms look disgusting anyway." Because they did. Just the disgusting. But it was just like, you know, I'm afraid for you to use the bathroom face, because there are a lot of people out there that are going to be so judgmental, and they're going to basically put this label on you. Perps do to us. Trans women.
Like you said though, okay, you know, people calm down. Like, can we just take a shit or take a piss? Come on, that's all we gonna do, right? I mean, you know,
like, what
calm the fuck down.
Like, what the fuck are we actually do? Like, that's the thing. When really, in a sense, you should. I mean, honestly, okay, I'm not going to invalidate what cis women go through, because I know what happens. Like, I know that they're more subjected to getting attacked. Like, I get that. But you got to remember, most of the shit that happens, it comes from cisgender men, okay? Not trans women, cisgender men. Pay attention to that shit. Cisgender men, not trans women. I will say that over and over if I have to. I will put it on repeat until it gets into everybody's heads.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just talk to them though. Trans women are women. Plain and simple.
Yep.
They're not out to hurt anybody. I remember I watched this TikTok of this one trans woman. She basically parked her car and she said, "Look, everybody, I'm trans. I don't want to be called a faggot bitch. I just want to be acknowledged as a human being. Because all of us trans people just want to live our lives." Which is correct. That's all we want, is to live as our authentic selves. Plain and simple. If you are for trans rights and you want them to live as their authentic selves, let's help them get there.
Mm-hmm.
If our government is refusing to help us, let's do it mutual aid. Let's help them. I mean, it is pretty sad that we have to go kind of use outside of like the typical healthcare setting, like folks or what is the other one? Plume.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sad. And like with I will actually put a little disclaimer. The fact that I don't have healthcare, like my kid is going to be up for her blocker soon.
Mm.
We can't Medicare because they base it on your last year's income.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I made last year, so I don't fall into that. So like, what are you going to do for the youth?
Mm.
And I also want to kind of debunk something because I saw this may have been a week or two ago, but Tulsi Gabbard, she had posted something about, well, the FDA is saying that puberty blockers are actually going to cause like brain damage and stuff like that. And I'm like, where the fuck are you reading this garbage at?
Yeah. Did she state the source?
Apparently, using T.R.A.N and all those other ones make it worse.
Huh.
I never heard of that. Like,
I mean,
like,
why?
kind of,
Like, why would that cause brain damage? I mean, what?
I mean, the thing with like, okay, so like, what my daughter was told, like, okay, so she takes another version of the blocker. She doesn't take Lupron anymore, but it's another version of the blocker. But she still gets injections. She gets it 6 months. But all that was told to me is that it's important that she eats her vitamins. It's just like even with adult trans people. We make sure that we're eating our vitamins and making sure we're eating healthy because it could affect the bones. It can affect the bone density. So, and I want to say like one of the worst side effects is just getting a headache. Headache and brain damage don't mean the same thing, people. Okay, and if you really think that way, honestly, I feel sorry for you. Okay, and it's just puberty blockers for me, I will say, has been a benefit because before, okay, so when Faith came out to me, she did say that, you know, Dad, I identify as a female. When she got on puberty blockers, that was a perfect opportunity because it stopped everything. Because that's essentially what puberty blockers do. They put your puberty on pause. Once you're off of it for a certain amount of time, everything will resume as natural. In a sense, while said child is on a puberty blocker, they have that opportunity to kind of explore for themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like my kid has been, she's been taking hormones since actually it's been close to 3 years now. About the same time I've started testosterone. Close, not really. In that mark. And before she even got on hormones, and I want to say this as a PSA to all the transphobes and homophobes that are in this type of bullshit. When kids want to explore their identity, they go through a process. Okay. They have to see a therapist. Okay. They're under 18. Okay. So, in a sense, it's kind of keeping in mind that the whole concept of kids aren't old enough to make decisions. but you're still allowing them that autonomy. There is a way to make that work. Simply saying because a person is under 18 and you telling them that they don't know any better, I'm sorry, that's shitty advice and you need to stop it. Kids know more than what we think. Like, we underestimate our children these days.
Yep, that's true. Yep.
We need to listen to them. So, just to debunk that, again, if your kid is exploring identity issues or challenges, send them to a therapist. But make sure the therapist knows what the fuck they're talking about. Not the ones that put in their profile, oh, I know about LGBTQ issues. I'm just going to say this right now. Most therapists are required to do that. Because it's in our code of ethics. We have to stay confident on every issue. So in a sense, like if you go like on Psychology Today, for example, like you'll see like, of course, everybody has their own specialties. But a common theme that I see when I'm looking up like counselors, psychologists, they all have LGBTQIA+. Because somebody says that they're an LGBTQIA+ affirming therapist, doesn't mean that you should automatically, in a sense, trust them. Because it has been known, even in my field. There's an article, I'm going to have to send it to you sometime, Tsukuru.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of missteps when it comes to our community. Like there have been stories where therapists will actually even criticize trans people, be like, "Why are you wanting to transition? You look at so why are you transitioning?" So, yeah, go ahead.
See, that was my fear actually. Okay, but granted, okay, I have to say though, I'm with Kaiser, and I'm one of the lucky ones because I've actually had a very good experience with them. From the first like screening to seeing my endocrinologist. He's great. He's probably the best doctor that I've ever had, and nurses are great. Like they're my friends, and they like look after for me. And anyway, yeah, so great. But when I went into that like kind of screening, with the therapist, I had a lot of like reservations, and I had sort of kind of fear, kind of anger about it, because internally I was saying like, okay, why do I have to be screened? Because like I damn well know what I want and who I am, and for this stranger, to screen me and I guess validate my need to transition was just kind of ridiculous and offensive, to me, right? Luckily, I mean, actually, I think my therapist was very good, and I kind of understood that, oh, okay, it was not really the screening, she's not screening for my validity to be trans. She's actually screening, if I have like outstanding mental health issues, because then, they can help, I guess. So once I understood that, I had no issues. But in the back of my mind, because I went in with a different understanding that I was being screened for being trans, so I had this like in the back of my mind, I was thinking like, okay, why is this obviously cis person, screening me? It's like, why? I mean, how would they know, right? So
Right.
that really bothered me, anyway,
Honestly, like, okay. First of all, that whole bullshit, like the screening thing that you're referring to, I mean, honestly, that's an insurance company thing. Like, obviously, they don't really give a fuck about us. But you also got to keep in mind, so there's a couple factors that come into place when it comes to mental health and being trans. First of all, you do have to acknowledge there have been people that have fucked us up in a sense. I mean, like I've said before with stigmas, it takes one fuck up to create a stigma. So you got that comes into play. But also to your point with mental health though, like getting on testosterone or even estrogen, that does do a lot. And you got to make sure like your mental health is okay. I mean, obviously in a sense, like if I went in there like saying like, hey, like I'm depressed and everything, like maybe getting on testosterone will help me or something like that, that may happen, but they still need to kind of monitor that because at some point, you know, you may develop like very intrusive thoughts and they need to help you kind of like manage that. So it overall, it should be a good support. I do not like that they have these standards. It's like, okay, well, you can't do this unless you meet these qualifications. Fuck, fuck that.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
Like, fuck it. Like, why are we doing this shit? And I mean, also, you got to acknowledge, too, mental health already gets enough shit. We already have a huge stigma in our field that keeps people away. It could praise all at once that it's for like multicultural LGBTQIA plus issues, but they don't really enforce it, and people can see right through that shit. It's sad. I mean, it took me a long time for me personally, and it's going to shock people when I say this. It even took me a while to find the right therapist, and I am a practicing therapist. So
doesn't surprise me though. You know, I just feel that because at the end of the day, I mean, you are not machine. You know, human people are people, and I think it's just really extremely hard to find someone who just like really, you know, who you feel comfortable with, who you feel like you can trust, and then, you know, who understand you. Yeah, that must be extremely difficult because it's not formulaic. I mean, it shouldn't be, you know.
Right. Like we deal with a lot of societal traumas, and it's getting reinforced in little spaces like workplace, public spaces. Like it's reinforced everywhere. So it is hard for us to really trust anybody. But I'm not saying that everybody should be reserved and guarded. I mean, yes, like you're perfectly okay to have reservations. It's fine. But you also need to just be a little open. Be a little open. Person may surprise you. But definitely, like, if they do something that is fucked up, don't be afraid to call it out, though, either. Because I always say, life is like a learning curve. You're going to make mistakes, but we learn from them and we bounce back from it. And just because, okay, and I'm actually going to address this. To the ones that actually engage in Karen entitlement syndrome when it comes to the trans community, just because you know somebody that's trans doesn't mean that they speak for all of us. So if a trans person tries to correct you on an issue such as this one, like transitioning, don't kick us out the door. Again, we are all unique beings. Our journeys are different. But we share one universal goal. We just want to be acknowledged as human beings. Trans rights are human rights. Whether you accept that or not, we are human beings. We are not a fucking species. And the people that are treating us like we are, I'm sorry, you have serious protection issues, and please go get educated. That's all I say about that. Because that's usually what it is. They suffer from very, very problematic projection issues.
Right. Yeah.
This subject, it's when I hear stories that people are getting shamed, honestly, I know I'm kind of going in a circle, but like when I hear people talk about like they're afraid to come out because they're going to get shamed. I know one of my partners actually was like that. JT was telling me that. I'll go ahead and announce it because JT doesn't mind. But he even told me them coming out as non-binary, like they were afraid to even say anything because they were witnessing all this bullshit that was going on in the trans community and validating them.
Right.
Stop.
Right. See, that's the thing, though. That's the thing. Yeah. Okay. So non-binary people, get it from both sides. So that's what's hard, because they get it from cis people and they get it from trans people. who should be their allies, who should be their biggest and the most important allies. But unfortunately, non-binary people get it from both sides. Both sides. I've actually heard stories after stories that, they've been laughed at to their face. Due to their face. People laughed at them.
See, honestly, like if it was me, like say if I was a non-binary person and a trans person did that to me, I would laugh right back in their face then. That's me though, because I'm just a little petty. But it's just like, but you don't, but at the same time, like if they came up to me and I did that and they would be like, what the fuck was that about? It's like, well, you did it to me first. You don't like how it feels, does it? You don't like it. We've been laughed at. Yes, for sure. Trans people have dealt with shit for sure. But you shouldn't push another community out of it.
Right.
That's the thing that really pisses me off, because when people especially with the non-binary community, like you mentioned before, like you would think that coming to a trans person and coming out and discussing this stuff would be easy for them. It's not easy for them because it fucking exists. It exists, and a lot of it's being reinforced out there. MSM, other words, mainstream media, or bigots, TERFs, and that's the problem. PSA, stop listening to TERFs when it comes to transitioning. Everything that they say is false, and the ones that have allowed themselves to listen to TERFs and actually align with TERFs, I'm sorry. You need to get away from there and move away from them as fast as you can. Because if we do not put a stop to this, this is what's going to be our demise. I have been making a point to say this. TERFs have been trending for the past 3 weeks now on Twitter, and honestly, I'm getting sick of it. And it's not because of anything really serious. It's because they are always losing their shit over something stupid. We need to find, and if you kind of look it back, going back to the topic, think about the root of what caused it. TERFs, because they're the ones that are making a big stink about this, and in a sense, it's getting picked up by more extreme bigots, right-wing bigots, and that they have that ability and power to do something about it if they wanted to. There was almost 400 anti-trans bills just in this past year and this year alone. Most of the bills that have been surrounding that stuff has been trans youth, sports. This is insane.
Yep.
Y'all need to use your voice. TERFs at this point, I've accepted they can't be helped, and there's just no way in engaging with them. Honestly, I tried to have a conversation with them. You can't. They're really stuck in their own way. You could definitely plant the seed for whenever they do decide to wake up from the hell that they're in, because I can only imagine it's probably just like it's hell being trans. But I know we're close to near the end, and I know I'm kind of talking for a little bit. So, Tsukuru, do you have closing thoughts that you'd like to say to this topic?
I don't know. So many thoughts, and but I guess we can talk about this forever. But the thing about, and not to start on another subject or anything like that, but since you brought up TERFs right now, not I don't talk about them extensively, but the crazy thing about TERF movement, or I don't know if it's even movement, but
it's
they're the ones who kind of in a weird way. So a lot of TERFs claim to be feminists. Yes. and they claim to be sort of like a liberalish, people, right? I mean, kind of on the left. So the crazy thing is like can can and they do gang up on us with the right wingers. So that's the craziest thing though. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know like where I wanted to go with that, but I guess I don't know. I just what can I say? Okay, so um feminism, um I consider myself feminist as well. Um but I mean discriminating against um any group, it's not a feminist behavior.
Nope.
If you're a feminist, of course you are putting an emphasis on women's rights because it should be, it should be talked about, it should be focused on. Having said that, feminists being feminist is about you know being for any human rights, you know
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I just wanted to say that, so if you're calling feminist, you can't practice hate against anyone. That just defies the whole point of being feminist.
Amen to that. Amen to that. That's the thing that the turf movement doesn't. I call it a movement because they've been able to have all this power in a sense because they've been able to influence big people. So like that's why I call it a movement because it kind of is. But turfs are not feminists because, like you said, it's for every right. I mean, with the emphasis of women's rights. They are not a movement to be taken seriously. They focus on the littlest bullshit ever. To be honest, they obviously are not current with the research. So honestly, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about the turf movement. They shouldn't be taken seriously. They engage in hate. But that hate right now is what's killing us right now, and we need to combat that hate right now. That's why I've been trying to encourage. We can have differences, we can have similarities. But let's just agree that our rights are in jeopardy and we need to be out there fighting for them. We need to be fighting for liberation for all. Everyone.
Yep.
Everyone. This isn't a game where one group is more important. If we're preaching that we want equality, then let's fucking try to get to that point where we're equal.
Mm-hmm.
Not one person is gonna fucking matter. As a message to my LGBTQIA plus siblings, this applies to you as well. There is not one group in the acronym that is more important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We all have dealt with something at an equal level. Well, again, unless you have healthcare and you've had no issues, that's a different issue. Let's just agree to disagree. Let's keep pushing forward. Let's use our voice. Don't let the petty ass bullshit like get in the way with this. Because honestly, if we keep focusing on this high school petty ass bullshit, it's gonna get us nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking nowhere. With my cis LGB siblings, I ask of you, please stand with us. We were there for you, but please, let's just stand for us. Let's be a community.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the term community means. We're all there for each other. We're like our siblings. We're going to fight, of course. But I mean, when it gets to the point where it's affecting youth,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, this is where I'm going to really highly encourage and enforce the idea that we all need to just be sitting and having a conversation.
Yep.
Don't support people that are performatively going to go to a microphone and say, hey, like, I'm for you guys and not do anything effective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to even enjoy like the stuff that's been getting put in place now when it comes to the trans LGBTQ protections that are out there. Like, I'm not going to even get too comfortable about it because I already know since we're already in a fucked political system, it's just going to go revert back. So, like, that's why I'm worried about. Like, that's why be celebrating. Just the cat and mouse game. You all do not have to accept crumbs. You all deserve a whole. And that's what the gatekeeping. Well, just so everybody knows, so the trans files will now resume back to Wednesdays instead of Tuesdays. So yay!
Yay!
I want to thank people who are watching tonight. Please continue to like, subscribe, share. We are now actually on a few platforms now. So not only we're going to be on YouTube, but we're on Spotify, Anchor. Yeah, Spotify. We're now on Google, Amazon, Apple. So we're all there. And
Yep.
I actually make this clear. I know people are going to give me shit and ask me why I'm on bigger platforms. It's because a way to actually attack somebody is learning something from the inside. Getting on the inside. Not necessarily kissing ass, but getting on the inside. And finding a way to where we can fight. That's the reason.
All right.
Not that I necessarily really agree with any of it. Like, I mean, I still really won't really support Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, okay, it's like this though because okay, my bragging rights, right? So like the other day, I had a pleasure of eating pizza with Mr. Chris Smalls of Amazon Labor Union, and I mean, just like he said, they don't really necessarily want us to boycott Amazon because they want to keep their jobs. It's just that they're trying to create the equitable workplace, so unless there is a explicit demand to consumers to boycott Amazon, um well, what he said was he wants us to keep shopping with Amazon. It's just that he want us to be clear that he want us to make demands of Amazon, what we accept and what we don't. So
yeah, I mean, I think we could do a whole other show on Amazon.
yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah.
All I will say, Amazon, it's one of those things. It's like you don't really want to use it and you still want to support the smaller businesses, but it's also fucking difficult because the people that are working at Amazon, like, they're people too. And you want to support them as well. So, I mean, it's one of those situations. I mean, I think most of us probably do use Amazon anyway, but still. But anyways, I don't want to go into that topic. Otherwise, I'm going to have a whole other conversation about it. So.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Yeah, yeah. I think okay, wait. Just one last thing. I mean, I think it's kind of I think it does mean something when you are a customer of Amazon and you make a point of calling them, write to them saying that, hey, I hear about all these like dangerous work conditions that you have at your warehouse, or inhumane labor conditions that you put your drivers through, and I don't approve of it, I don't appreciate it, please fix that. I think it means something. So yeah, if you can pick up your virtual pen, or pick up your phone and call them and let them know that we don't approve, I think that means something.
As well, you could, to my LGBTQIA plus siblings, let's bitch at Amazon for them putting the straight pride flag on there. Like, I swear to God, like, that is the most disgusting, vile flag I've ever seen.
Right.
Black and white. It's black and white. I guess that's what straight pride is. It's boring and it's dull.
I just kind of straight up laughed when I posted that on Twitter because I was like, well, is that a joke? Because I mean, they should have come up with something more interesting, is what I'm saying, I guess.
I mean, that's what I said. At least for like the creative community, we have a rainbow. Like, I mean, that's beautiful. It pops out. Like, it really it explains like innocence and enforces that diversity. And I love that. Great pride. I'm like, oh, so in a sense, it kind of, and for me, it's kind of like a confession in a sense.
That
It's
is
like,
so bizarre, though. That is so. Oh, by the way, this is my agender beret, right? I mean, it's beautiful. Oh wait, I am. Yeah,
ooh, new beret drop. Yes.
yeah,
I'm excited.
yeah. I'm rocking my agender beret right now.
So I want to give an update on that. Soon enough, we will probably have merch on our website. So we're just trying to get everything done right now. So once we do, we'll have it posted on our webpage. So keep a lookout for that. And I look forward to seeing you all again next Wednesday.
Yes.
Now I need to find the
Well,
thing.
everyone, be well. Thank you so much.
Yes, everyone be well. Love you all.